Hi, my name is Boyd Davis, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Payfederate. And for the next few minutes, I'd like to take you through a demonstration of our platform. Payfederate was born on two principles. One is that modern compensation practices be both market competitive and aligned with an organization's talent strategy needed to be far more accessible to a far larger portion of the market. The other observation was that artificial intelligence, particularly generative AI, had the potential to dramatically make the whole process of benchmarking jobs, establishing pay ranges, and updating to the market and sharing with the rest of the organization far simpler, making this accessibility to the broader market possible. So we tried to build a platform that was complete, that was infused with leveraging the best AI technology and some very specific targeted cases where AI can really make humans more efficient, and to make it broadly available and accessible by making it affordable and easy to use. So let's get into it. Let me first summarize the capabilities of the platform at a very high level, and then we'll go into some more detail. Our platform starts, as all good compensation projects do, with jobs and a job description and a catalog of jobs. So you see here an organization's jobs list, and you can see how many employees are in each job. There are some jobs that are formed that do not yet have employees. And what we can do is leverage artificial intelligence to either create a job description or to really improve the quality and consistency of job descriptions within an organization. The next thing we'll do is go to our AI job matcher. This is the process of taking a job that an employer has with a very robust description that we created in the first step and matching it to the market with the customer selection of market data. And this will become very critical. And I'll circle back to this as well. Once you've had your jobs and you've matched them so you have a sense of where the market is, there are two parallel next steps. One is to create pay structures. So these are, you can call them range tables or pay zones. We've heard them called a number of things. And our pay structures menu item allows you to do two things. One is to both build and evaluate a range, but also to do some analytics. So in this stage of the process, we'll have an ability to view whatever ranges we have. We can modify them and copy them and make a new version with adjustments, or we can create a new pay structure from scratch. The other part of a compensation project is to really understand how the jobs fit into an overall talent strategy. So our pricing project allows you to try different scenarios by creating a new project that would include a whole new range of new jobs, new matches, even different job descriptions and different pay ranges, so that a compensation professional can really try out a number of different scenarios to see which balance will work for their organization. And a critical part of that is to figure out how a job fits into a job architecture. So we have an ability to both build and evaluate job architectures where you can define custom families and functions that are appropriate to the employer. And you can also define career stages. And this is very important because making sure that you have a competitive pay structure is not just about saying, hey, we want to be at the 50th percent of the market or the 70th percent, or all of the elements of market competitiveness. That's a key input. You also want to make sure that employees have a sense of growth opportunity within an organization. So if you can create a leveling framework with some details, then you give your employees both competitive pay now, but also a sense that they could build their career at that organization. These things come together with a job analysis where you put the jobs into ranges and evaluate how they fit into your job architecture and then iterate. Of course, no platform would be complete without a series of analytics, and these are kind of answers to the key questions that an organization may have at any given point in time about the health of their pay strategy and the health of their employees within that strategy. And I'll circle back to this as well. And then I'll conclude by highlighting a couple of elements that are critical to us. So we think of building a comp structure, maintaining it with new market data and adaptations to business strategy or environmental changes. We also think not only about building and maintaining, but about using the compensation strategy more aggressively. Countless customers have told me they build up these pay ranges and pay philosophy, But when it comes time to hire, or when you have an employee escalation or risk of flight, very often those guidelines fall out of the core decision on what to do in those situations. So we want to make the pay strategy real by making it available in the hiring process to assess internal offers and to be able to, at an employer's option, to actually share total reward statements with their employees. The final piece is how do we get started and how do we have flexibility around data, and I'll cover that. So that is a quick highlight of the capabilities of the platform. Now let's go into a little more detail. And we'll start with Job Catalog. So I can demonstrate some of the capabilities that we have. Now we could create a job completely from scratch. We can add in guidelines on the skills required, the responsibilities or the duties, and we can use templates. So we can create from scratch. But I think it's interesting to take a look at what would it take to edit a job and show some of these capabilities in action. So here we have a marketing manager job. It's an M1 level in this organization's career leveling framework. And you can see a job description here. So one of the things I'm going to try to do is create a new job out of this job. And let's say we need to have another level added to this particular career track. So we're going to create a senior marketing manager. So that should be an M2 instead of an M1. And then we're going to ask the AI engine to take a look at the definitions we've had for the M2 career stage versus M1. That's part of how we augment generative AI to provide more precise results. And we're going to say, let's make this a more senior role. A very simple, plain language. And so now we can generate again. We're taking into account our differences between M1 and M2. We're going to take all of the same basic responsibilities and see what it would mean to have a demonstrably different level of the job. So you can see our engine is generating. And as we go through, you can then say, okay, I want to see how this is different than it was before. So you can actually take a look at the differences now that it's completed. And you can see where the AI engine recommended responsibilities and skills and up-leveled them to really represent a materially different job. And this is very powerful for organizations that often have very loosely defined characteristics around their job descriptions. Maybe they're generated by the hiring manager and then reviewed by compensation or HR. But this allows you to drive a very high level of quality in the job description, consistent with the organization's career architecture. Now, there's some other things we can go do here. We can set guidelines. You could say, let's have at least 8 skills for this level of job. We want to really move our organization from credentialing and purely looking at years of experience and really say have more skills orientation to our job descriptions. So you can run that and actually generate it again. I actually didn't count how many skills there were to begin with before I started this, but now we can say, let's make sure that these skills are being incorporated into job descriptions so that we can really better assess our talent that we're recruiting. And also, once people are in these roles, we have some more objective metrics. So you can see here, we now have 8 skills lined up. And you could put all sorts of other guidelines in here. You can actually have some standard audit questions to run an audit against all job descriptions and figure out where they're not meeting the bar. And of course, when you're complete, you can save this and add it into the job catalog. So our system can either be the system of record for the job catalog, or it can be the environment that job descriptions are created and managed and then updated to the organization's core HR platform. So let me go to then the next step is in our sample organization, we have all of our jobs are accurately and adequately described. So now we know when we compare our labor, the jobs that we have in our organization, when we want to find out how the market values those same jobs, we're now on a solid foundation. And what Payfederate allows, we are not a data provider. We have data provider partners, but we believe the tools to operate on data should be independent of the data itself, because best practices in compensation suggest that you should use multiple sources. So what we have on the left is all of the organization's jobs, and you can filter to work on a subset of jobs at any one time, or you could take a look at all of the jobs. You can see the ones that have been matched already and unmatched. And on the right is whatever the organization's market survey choices or market data sources are of their choice. And you can put them all in a single interface, so you're not going back and forth between spreadsheets with one data provider and spreadsheets with another and trying to bring them all together. This is a huge value for people trying to really make sure they know where the market is at. So let's take a look at our AI matching algorithm. This is one of the most popular elements of our tool. And what we're doing here is using a combination of generative AI and machine learning to take a look not only at the title, and maybe if you have leveling information, you can line it up to your survey sources leveling. But we also dig in and take a look at the responsibilities and skills required in the employer's job description, and then dig into the equivalent on the survey side so that we're really not getting just a generic title match, but a deep understanding within context of what is expected in the benchmark role versus the employer's role. And you can see in this example, we have an administrative support person, which is a very vague title, could have a lot of different responsibilities. And you see the AI engine is coming up with operations assistant, operations support, as well as administrative assistant. So in this demo, we've already selected jobs that we think are a close match. And this allows, our tool also allows you to make multiple matches and create composite listings. So you can see here for our account manager role, which we think this admin support has responsibilities for, we can actually weight the job. We've weighted these 33, 33. We don't add up to 100, so we should go down here and make sure that we have the final 33%. So now we have a job that is very much a hybrid of jobs in the marketplace, but we can still get a sense of what the market value for that job is. So now we've created our composite, and we can see here that when you go in, you can actually see what is comprised in that job. So this is a chance to get very, very specific and fine-grained levels of detail around job matching and job pricing. And of course, you always have the paper trail on how did you come up with this, and you can add comments. So this is a very, very powerful tool to match and price jobs very, very quickly. And I'll show a little bit later on that this is for smaller organizations often do very, very fine-grained details job by job, but larger organizations need to set a policy for where they want to fit with the market and how they match. So we can do all of these activities in bulk as well. Now I'm going to move to pay structure. So we've identified our jobs, we've matched them to the market. Now we want to build a pay structure. So we have this menu that allows you a lot of flexibility in building pay structures. You can build for, in this example, we'll build a base pay structure, but any elements of compensation that an organization wants to build ranges around, maybe it's LTI or stock, maybe it's base plus bonus target, maybe it's total cash, whatever the element is that an organization wants to build ranges around, as long as they have a similar element in the way they've mapped to the market, they have the flexibility to do that. So you may have one job that has a specific range for total cash and a different range for, say, equity. But let's build a range for base pay. So we're going to build it out. We're going to base it on a grade level structure. We're going to, in this particular case, build a single national structure for this organization. You can select a pay market. And then you can also select, is this for the entire organization, or do you want to build out a pay structure or a range table for a specific job, a family, or a job function? We'll build it out for the whole organization. Now we have two methods of building pay range structures. So I'll show manually here. We want to create a new one. We want to maybe say we traditionally use 10 grades. We want to try what it's like with 15. We want to take a midpoint differential. We want to make it a little bit bigger. We want the range spread 25%. Let's move that up to 30%. And this is all based on our judgment as a comp professional for what is likely to work. We'll start and anchor this pay structure on maybe a common job that we have at grade 7, or maybe our biggest grade or our most critical grade. And we think the midpoint should be around $65,000. So We've now basically created a theoretical pay range that should work. We can kind of see down here now that we've got our range spreads. They go from a midpoint at the lowest grade level of 32,000, all the way up to a midpoint at the highest grade level of 143,000. Now, maybe we look at this and we want, say, a bigger range spread at the top of the pay structure. So we can do that, and then kind of fine tune this pay structure as we see, and we think it makes sense. So we can save this pay structure and now adopt it. And when we go back and pull it up, I built this one before, you can see that we have a range structure. Now you can also take a look at the average of all employees in jobs in these pay structures. I'll show it differently how we map the jobs into the pay structures, but this allows you to get a sense of, okay, here's our current employees and where they would fit within this range structure on an average level. Or you can also see where you've built market targets. So this pay structure tool is used not only to build the ranges, but also to kind of assess it. And I'll show later how we can work with the employee data as well. So we have pay structures. Now, some of our customers, they actually start more with job architecture. So we have an ability to create multiple projects. You see up in the upper right this project menu. So at any given point in time, you could build out a project. Maybe you're just observing analytics on your current pay structure, but you're evaluating to build a new one or update your old one. So you can do that within Pricing Project. And the Pricing Project allows you to change matches, change even jobs, certainly to change ranges and job architecture, so that a comp professional has a chance to experiment and see the whole picture of how a new possible pay structure will work. So I'll start in this Pricing Project by highlighting what I mentioned before, that if an organization doesn't want to price job by job, you can actually go and select a certain number of jobs so that you can price them as a subset of bulk. You can automatically assign AI matches. You can just pick the top one if you want AI to do it all for you. And you can also set parameters for where do you want to be in the market? Do you want to be at the 50th percent? Do we think against, our surveys are old, so we want to age them 3%? And maybe if you're building out a project to build a new pay structure for a new pay market, maybe you have a lot of your staff in a high cost pay market like Boston or New York or San Francisco, and you're building out a new piece of the organization in Indiana or Kansas, and you want to really customize a pay structure there. So maybe you create a geo differential for those two. So we can do all of these jobs in bulk and then match them. We also have an ability then to take a job analysis and basically go through and assign the jobs. So we had this Tech 2025 pay structure we built. You can actually compare if you want to compare a current one to an old one. And then you can basically see, if you apply the new pay structure, where each of the jobs from a market target perspective have landed within a pay range. So this is kind of a very pure market-based view. And you can see throughout here that you can understand where a grade might have moved based on the new target and see a bunch of information. And one of the things I'll note about our platform is everywhere you see a table, you have this ability to select your views based on this configuration on the left, so that at any given point in time, you can be, screen size is limited. You can be working on the data that's most critical to you. So now we've, priced created jobs, matched jobs, built pay structures, and then slotted the jobs into the pay structure. Let's take a look at the other path that a compensation professional needs to travel down, which is, how do these jobs fit within our job framework? Now, again, for some people, this step starts first. Before you price any jobs or even match them, you go through and try to figure out what a job level is. So one of the great things about Payfederate is we have an ability to be super flexible on job architecture. So for some organizations, say if they're technical organizations, they may have more job functions within the job family of engineering. If you're a consumer products company, maybe you have more around manufacturing and sales and marketing. Our example here is quite simple and not realistic, but it gives you a sense of how flexible the platform is. So say when I'm building out my job architecture, I get a sense that, hey, within my engineering organization, I want to add a new capability called QA. And I want to dedicate some of my engineers to this QA job function because I think it's modified enough from the core engineering developer function that I want to create it. So I can select the jobs here. You can see that AI is suggesting a job function for this. So you can either take the AI suggestions and build out kind of the AI version of what a job architecture would look like. But it's going to really require a compensation professional to understand what is the purpose of building out a new job family and function. Is it a career path objective? Is it a pay objective? Is it a market competitiveness objective? So sometimes the AI, which is just looking at the text of the job and the job responsibilities, may not get what the organization is trying to do. So I'm going to go create this new job family. And now all of a sudden you can see here, and I can figure out if I want to grade these jobs without thinking necessarily about the market, just to how I value them. I could say, okay, engineering staff, I want to drag this down to here. And now you'll see that you're going to change this job and put it into a grade level 1. And now you have the job updated successfully. So you can operate on job levels and job family and function descriptions here. And then you can start the inevitable optimization for how do you say want a career path for an engineer or a finance person or a marketing person to go. Maybe you have a job that naturally, from a pay range perspective, would fall within 2 different career levels, would fall within the same grade. One of them is maybe in the lower part of the grade and the other is in the higher. You can choose to say, okay, I'm going to move the promotion up a grade level so that it's more meaningful from a career path perspective. Or you can look at alternatives to build out different pay structures. So our solution allows comp professionals to use their creativity and their strategy and their understanding of what the organization is trying to achieve to try a lot of different configurations to optimize for that organization, which will ultimately inspire confidence. The other thing I'll highlight here, which is again could be an early step, is to build out a career stages. So now you have a sense of, okay, on my management track, my technical track, my professional track, and maybe you have a support or operations track. You can kind of get a sense of where do you see levels of equivalence across the organization. So in this particular case, we think that a senior engineer T2 is roughly at the same level as a professional P3. Maybe we need to create another higher level individual contributor professional. So we can actually go do that. We can call this call it a lead. Well, we have a lead associate. We want to create a new P4 level and then edit it. So now we have a P4 level individual contributor that we can add, and now we have another grade level that we can promote individual contributors to. So this is a very powerful example. And the other thing you can do here is take this particular job description and add some color around it. So for instance, our senior director here, we have a description, and this description will be used in our job description tool. It will be used in job architecture tool so that you can see if these kinds of objective criteria to differentiate career levels will actually give an organization better guidance for how their employees can develop through their career progression with objective metrics, as opposed to things like I've just been in the job for a long time. So this is a very powerful tool to bring together market pricing and your talent strategy around job architecture and career levels. And it all comes together in a way that allows you to iterate quickly and see which scenarios are the best fit for the organization. So now that we finished our pricing project, I want to go back and take a look at the kinds of analytics that an organization can go do. So we have an analytics module, but one of our most important analytics modules is in fact our pay structure tool. So now you can see for this particular organization, we're looking at not just the ranges and the jobs and the market targets, you can actually see the employees as well. So let's turn off the other buttons. And you can see here, for instance, in our grade 7, we have a significant challenge. A number of employees well above the range that we've established. You can click on these employees and get a sense of more details about them that have been loaded from the HRIS or the payroll platform. You can actually go in and take a look at people below the range and start to think about, okay, is this healthy? Do we need to evaluate these jobs? Are they in the wrong job? Do we need to reevaluate their pay? Hopefully not. But it gives you a great opportunity to see how the employees map. Now, you can also change the view here and take a look at a number of other categories. So you could take a look at this, for instance, by job level. So now we can see, again, we can see the jobs, the employees, and even the market targets within a level. You could take a look at this by job family. So you can kind of see where the engineering families are. This is a tech structure, so it's probably mostly engineering. But you can also take a look at this by job title. So now you can look into individual jobs. The other thing you can do is take a look at this by job title, but let's say I only want to look at the jobs that I've assigned to grade level 7. So now you can filter on the top row, and now we can see that we've got 3 different jobs that we've defined in grade level 7, and we can kind of assess, do these make sense? So we have lots of different filters up here. You can really, with just a couple of clicks, find information on how your ranges are applying to the employees quite easily. Now, the other thing we can do is to do some very quick analytics in real time on some of the key factors. So maybe you want to take a look at who you've hired in the last 12 months and see if you have an opportunity to, maybe you've been creating some pay compression. Maybe you want to take a look at the people that are below the minimum. So now if we take a look at only those employees below minimum, we can see we've got a whole lot of employees in this range structure. It's probably not a very healthy range structure. But what do I want to do to mitigate that? Let's say I really trust my ranges and I want to go through and take all of the employees who are below the minimum. So here I'm going to select all of the employees and then I'm going to go down here to the dragger. I can either change everybody by a specific percent, or I can just drag and drop this to get everybody to the minimum. And now what you see here is we can understand what the budget impact is. It'd basically be a 16% increase on this population of employees who currently are collectively making 3.2 million. We'd have to spend 5.3 million, 530,000 to get them up to the minimum. Now you can save this scenario and actually build out merit cycle or compensation planning scenarios where you take a look at, say, all employees and want to take a look at what would it take to give, say, all of our higher performers. Let's say we want to filter only by performance. So I think we have a performance rating here. We're going to filter this, and we're only going to take the grade 4s and 5s. So now we have this group. We can select all of them and say, hey, I want all of my performers to at least get a 4% raise. Let me go back here and make this 4%. And then now you can again see that we have a budget impact once we trade this. So now we'll be able to see what would it cost us to move all of the employees up 4%. And again, we can save this scenario and compare multiple scenarios to see which maybe market adjustments or which adjustments we want to do when a budget is limited going into the comp cycle. So one of our more powerful analytic tools is to just take a look at employees in the ranges. And if you have multiple ranges that apply to a common set of employees, you can take a look here. Maybe we want to take a look at the tech Austin versus our tech broadly, and you could kind of get some insights for how different ranges compare. Now that we've covered pay structures, there are some other analytics that are extremely common for organizations. And we have a number of, you can see a menu item called reports here. That is really a series of static customizable reports that may be the most common reports an organization wants. But we also have our interactive analytics. So for instance, one of the things many organizations want to keep track of is position to market. So you can take, again, you have this look where you can look at this a lot of different ways. Maybe you want to just see, hey, how are we doing from a level perspective? And you can see that there's no common trend of having people at higher levels be above market and lower. It's kind of a mixed bag. You certainly have some career levels here that are well above the market. But you can take a look at this by job grades, the same thing. And this one does show maybe that the higher grade levels are trending a little bit higher than the market compared to the lower grade levels. And you can take a look at this by even down to the level of job title. So you can see all of the people in the organization and see if, by title, you have some jobs that are out of whack. And similarly, if you want to take a look at subpopulations, maybe you want to take a look at all of the levels, but only within a specific job family. Say I only want to look at finance. So I can filter this out, at least in this dummy example. We only have one career level that is in finance, and they're well above the market. So our opportunity here is to make very, very quick analytics available through a lot of different lenses with just a couple of clicks. And you'll notice, and I'll highlight this is true for the rest of the software tool as well, is anytime you have a graphical image, you can download it as an image, or if it's a table, you can export it as Excel. And this means that when you do a quick analysis, maybe you come up with a visual that makes the case for, say, increasing the budget or changing the priorities in comp, and a comp professional or an HR professional has to convince senior management. It's always better to have the data to support those recommendations. And it's very easy to get that data out of our software. So in addition to compare to market, some of the most common questions are people you typically use either compa ratio or range penetration to kind of show where the organ is at relative to progression through the range. And the same thing, now you see this heat map where you can see with where people are in these different categories, less than 25% penetration in the range, 20 to 50, 50 to 75, 75 to 100, or above the max. So you can actually get a sense really quickly of both the number of employees effective and the percentage of employees here. So, and all of these same filtering capability that I won't go through again. So as I mentioned, we also have a number of static reports. These can be used for things like automated one-click survey submissions. If an organization needs to report back to their survey provider, it could be some typical reports that an organization has gotten used to that they use for decision making. You want to be able to get it quickly out of a tool instead of having to massage a bunch of spreadsheets. So we have a lot of analytics and reporting capability in the tool. Finally, I'm going to shift gears and talk a little bit about now you have an overall pay structure. Hopefully the organization has a lot more confidence in the pay structure. They can, really know that they're market competitive. They can explain to employees how they can build a career and why their pay will not only be competitive today, but have an opportunity for growth. But now you actually want to use it. And one of the key areas that we've seen lots of organizations struggle with is external offers. So when you think about external offers, some recruiting tools have a place to put in internal pay ranges, but generally trying to figure out how an offer might compare to existing employees is quite a manual effort. And what we've done is make it easy to assess candidate offers within the context of a compensation strategy. So we'll take a candidate in this database and take a look at where they fit. And so we have the details of the candidate and the job. Now you can see here that we have a couple of different ways to analyze the data. So in this particular offer, they're actually within the pay range for the job, actually below the midpoint. But when you actually compare it to the team and the broader organization, they're actually going to get paid above the midpoint for where the actual employees are. And this is a common thing where you might have a pay range, but if all of the employees in that current pay range are kind of paid below the midpoint, then bringing somebody in at the midpoint might represent a challenge to internal equity, even though it's within the range. It doesn't necessarily mean it's the wrong decision, but it's one that should be taken with the appropriate amount of understanding of how that might affect those employees currently in the job. Because we know, both through pay transparency and the societal shift, that people are more aware of what their peers and their colleagues make. And I think that trend will only continue as people get more comfortable sharing details about their pay with others. So this is an environment to also take a look at maybe the elements of compensation. Maybe there's an opportunity to bridge the gap where you don't necessarily set your core pay structure up for trouble for internal equity, but you still maybe award a signing bonus or additional LTI or something to that candidate so that you can land it. This isn't about having compensation be people the no group, which is kind of sometimes how we're known, but instead of looking at the data and trying to make the best decision for an organization. We also have an ability for employees to have access directly to the system. Now, sometimes this is something that organizations already have a means of sharing details on their total comp, but if they don't, this is a great way to take a look at an overview. You can share with employees where they're at within the range because they're going to know, and it's better for you to explain why and what the opportunity is. So this employee is doing a little bit better with his variable, I think it's a him, yeah, his variable pay than he is. He's much lower in the range for base pay, so that's probably a good thing. He's got more opportunity for growth with his variable pay, and probably he's also a person that has a lot of headroom to grow. Maybe he's just developing the skills or initially demonstrating the skills and not actively role modeling them. So whatever your philosophy is for progression through range, you can make sure that it's clear to Dominic when he takes a look. And one of the ways to do that is to actually answer his questions when he's looking at his own pay. We also have details on annual salary. If you have multiple bonus programs, if you had an LTI program, you could put that here. You can highlight the value of the benefits and even show Dominic what his history is like. This is important. Maybe somebody's gotten very high raises when inflation was quite low, and then is frustrated that the increases haven't kept up with inflation. But you have an ability to say, hey, look, over time, it all works out. The final thing I want to share is not related to the capabilities or the functionality of the product, but a couple of challenges around the background of the administration of it. So the first thing I want to highlight is how easy it is to get information into the system. So to start with Payfederate, all you really need is employee data, jobs data, and survey data if you want to benchmark. But we know a lot of people already have. They mapped jobs to surveys in the past. They built out their career architecture and just want to start with something within the tool. So we have an ability to very easily upload, from a number of different sources to make sure that all of the data in the system hangs together. You have employees that are linked to a job code linked to a job description, which ultimately gets linked to a pay range and a position in the job architecture, and they all get mapped to specific surveys. So the platform brings all these disparate data sources together to have a common view. And we also have an ability to provide very, very fine-grained user access. So as I've gone through the platform today, I've had a lot of areas that would really only be relevant and appropriate for a compensation professional. Most compensation professionals don't want to share all of the raw market data with the organization to have their market pricing second guessed. In cases where you want to take a look at things like comp ratio across the organization, certainly position to market, that's probably only appropriate for leadership levels. When you're talking about recruiting or hiring, really the recruiters just need access to that internal equity tool. And certainly when you're talking about employees, the only thing they should see is their own pay within their own pay range. So we have a very, very strong capability to build roles for specific kinds of users. So for instance, on the recruiter role, we can take a look that we've predefined this. And you can see here that we have the recruiter allowed to take a look at everything related to offers and job postings, and pretty much all of the other capabilities in the tool are turned off. So that when a recruiter logs in with a recruiter profile, they see only the information that's relevant to them. And we can build these roles for employees, for managers. Maybe a manager sees the pay data, but only for his or her employees. So we have a way to make this a tool that everybody has access to the information about compensation they need, and yet it's powerful enough for the comp professional to use it as their core tool for initial benchmarking and then updating benchmarks as new data becomes available. So that's a quick run through of the Payfederate platform. I'll close with the dashboard that I didn't finish with at the start. These are just widgets that can be configured so that the comp professional or the user has the information that's most relevant to them. And you can see how to click through very quickly to remediate some of those issues. With that, thank you for your time today. If you need to learn more about Payfederate, feel free to contact us at hello@payfederate.ai. And I look forward to working with any of you that need to modernize your compensation management with AI. Thank you.